Joining us for this episode of Colorado Conversations, I'm Andrea Henderson, anchor for FOX31 Morning News, and we're joined with Sarah Nininger, founded Action in Africa. So, such an amazing cause, and of course we're going to talk to you just about this whole organization that you founded, what it's all about. Thanks for joining us here.
Thanks for having me. So happy to be here.
So you born and raised in Colorado, correct?
Born and raised. I was born in the Roaring Fork Valley, and now I live here in Denver.
Awesome. So just tell me a little bit about this. What is Action in Africa?
So Action Africa is a nonprofit organization that currently operates public community centers in Uganda.
Awesome. So just walk me through, because it's really interesting how this whole thing started. I mean, you started this, it's been, what, 20 years now?
We're celebrating 20 years this year.
Okay, so 20 years ago, you were in high school, and that's when this whole thing started. So just walk me through where this whole idea came in.
So I was a sophomore in high school at Aspen High School in the Roaring Fork Valley. My history teacher showed us a film about children in Africa. And growing up in a beautiful mountain town like Aspen, it was quite eye-opening. And we decided to raise money for already existing organizations. And we did that for a number of years. We were tremendously successful. And one of the organizations we had helped fund happened to be based in Uganda. And we went to go see a project that we had built with them. And we are still in that community today. We never left, and the rest is kind of history.
That's crazy. So just walk me through the timeline of everything, because I'm sure when you're 15, you're in high school, and obviously you came up with the whole idea then, but you probably never expected 20-some years ago to be what it is today.
Oh my gosh, no, I could have never dreamt this. I mean, it was a school project. So with our history teacher and a bunch of kids in the school, we were raising money, and we were very successful with that because of the local community members in the Roaring Fork Valley. So businesses and local families and other teachers. Out of the 400 kids in our school, we had 300 kids in our club raising money and participating. Like, it was like a movement.
Yeah.
And going to Uganda really was the pivotal kind of turning point for us. I mean, there's nothing quite like being on the ground and being with the kids and seeing the stories. And that really is what transitioned into what you kind of see now with our work.
So did you have the opportunity to actually go when you were in high school?
I went my senior year,
Oh my gosh.
I guess right after I graduated.
Was that part of like the school, or that was just you kind of broke off and did your own thing after the fact?
No, it was with the school and
Wow.
under this like club name of Action in Africa. I look back on that and it's crazy that we did that and we were allowed to do that. But we just went with our teacher, and I think there were maybe 10 of us that went and saw the project. And I think we built a couple things on that trip and just got to know the community members and the kids. And now that we're still in that same community today, you know, many of the kids that we met that trip 18 years ago are graduates of university and have been a part of our work this whole journey.
That's insane to I'm sure think back of where this whole thing started, an idea, and a lot of people in high school, they join clubs, they do different community projects, but to really make that your life's work and to see this whole thing come to fruition, I'm sure is just crazy. So can you just walk us through what is, because I'm sure over the years, obviously it's grown. What has that growth been like?
Yeah, so our current community center that we are celebrating 10 years of being open as of last year, serves about 300 to 500 kids any given day. So after school programs, medical services, access to the arts, a hot meal. We like to think of ourselves as kind of a one-stop shop for all things in the development space. And when we opened that community center almost 11 years ago, we'd have 30 kids a day. So like even just that growth of seeing the need and the interest has been growing drastically. We've invested over $6 million into this community over the last 2 decades. So we go really deep with the people that we're serving in that community. We're working with a lot of the same schools from 20 years ago. And my favorite story is some of the kids that we first started working with 18 years ago are graduates of university and now working for us full time. So like we're really seeing the full circle come to fruition now.
And you're like, you didn't just help them out, you know, in their childhood or as they were growing up, and now you're actually employing them and they're coming back and helping others in that situation. I guess why Uganda? Obviously, you know, there's so many places across the world. Why was that the initial focus of this movement and this organization?
So it's all been really serendipitous. You know, we did not start out with the intention to go work in a country like Uganda, but after going on that first trip and seeing the need there, it's undeniable that we can be of support to that community. So, you know, most of the population living on less than $1 a day, and the challenges with getting access to education and career opportunities, being in that community was just kind of a no-brainer for us to partner there.
And I'm sure it's so eye-opening, especially, you know, growing up here in Colorado, I'm from Ohio, wherever it may be, just growing up in the States, I feel like it's probably, especially when you're in high school, you're not thinking about how people in other countries and other places across the world are living. What was that like, your first trip going there when you're, I don't know if you were 17, 18 at the time? I'm sure that was just like, you know, mind-blowing to see how some people live and survive every day.
Yeah, I mean, completely eye-opening. And the things that we take for granted, you know, especially as teenagers, you know, the gift of education and growing up in a place like Aspen, Colorado, like, it doesn't get any more stark of differences of realities between a community in Uganda and a community in Aspen. So I always think about coming back to the U.S. after some of my first trips and like walking into the grocery stores and just being like, oh my gosh, there's so many colors and there's 400 different types of cereal, and just being so overwhelmed by the difference between those two different communities. I feel like I've acclimated to that now a little bit more, but the two communities couldn't be any more different.
Oh, and it's shocking even if you go, you know, to a different country that's, you know, more developed or even more, you know, like coming back home to the States. I think there's a little bit of shock no matter what. So I can only imagine when there's such a stark difference, especially when you're younger, when you're just coming out of high school, like how that must have felt. So when you came back from that first trip, at what point were you like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what, you know, I'm not leaving this behind as I graduate and move on with life. This is something that I'm going to continue to do for, you know, the next 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, to be so clear, I don't think we ever set out being like, okay, this is our plan and we're going to do this for the next 20 years, but there's been such a, just like embracing the serendipity and the impact and what we can do and continuing to let the organization evolve organically. I could have never, you know, planned all of this. So that's been really fun to see it organically evolve. Yeah, I mean, I have the best job in the world, and that I get to wake up and do this every single day with some of the most magnificent team members, and it just happens to be doing a little bit of good is very cool. But I think there was a moment of, you know, even growing up in a community like Aspen and just having the support of the Roaring Fork Valley, like really champion for this and get behind us. We've had over 300 people from that community come and visit us in Uganda and do a service project and donate. So while the work we're doing in Uganda is really important and the bread and butter of what we do, there's also been a tremendous impact here in the state of Colorado and in the Roaring Fork Valley, and seeing people buy into that and see it be life-changing for them too is so, so, so powerful. And even at the high school level, you know, we still have a club at Aspen High School, and it's a vehicle for students to be global change agents. And I think being a teenager is so hard, and also in a very confusing community like Aspen, Colorado. So I think this just instills some global mind initiatives and empathy for the world that is sometimes lacking. So it's been helpful for me when I was a teenager, and now that it can be a gift for other, you know, Coloradan students is way cool.
And I think sometimes lacking, like you said, because people just, especially when, you know, you're in high school, you're just trying to navigate the typical high school kid stuff that you don't even like realize. So it's not even like, you know, you're not empathetic, you just don't even realize what other people in other parts of the world, you haven't been exposed to that. So I'm sure it's cool. What's it like knowing like the legacy of this program lives on at the high school that you went to? Because I'm sure you've gone and probably talked to students who are involved in the program now. I'm sure that's a really cool experience.
It's wild. I mean, last year, for example, we had 2 students that were part of our clubs many years ago who I didn't even really know reach out to us separately being like, I now work for this large company in New York, we want to host you and like do a presentation. And so even seeing that impact come full circle of the club members who have become change agents in their own career paths in their own communities and are always tying it back to Action in Africa, I'm like, what a gift. Like it does not get any better than this. So that's been really special. And it's funny, like I forget that we've been doing this for 20 years and that we are a multi-million-dollar organization changing thousands of lives. Like for me, it's just my life, right? And like the people I work with and the people I love and what I've been doing forever. But yeah, when I go into those club meetings and they're like, this is the founder, they're all like, what?
They're like,
and I'm like, no, like I sat at that desk too. And I feel like I did yesterday, but I'm like, oh no, I'm like kind of old now.
I feel the same way, so I get it. No, it's so cool. And I mean, from your standpoint, like what a blessing that you've been able to cultivate something that, like you said, you feel like it hasn't been 20 years because it's just doing what you love and, you know, helping people along the way. And, you know, we keep talking about, obviously, it started when you're in high school. It's been 20 years. Walk me through how it's grown, because when you first went out of high school, you said you went to college and you got your degree kind of around this. And I'm sure, like at first, there was probably just a handful of people full-time involved, right?
Yeah, I mean, all of us were volunteers for the first kind of chapter of Action in Africa, and it being more of like a passion project. And I remember after college, we kind of had this moment of like, okay, is this a passion project or is this really an organization, and are we going to go all in? And I quite abruptly quit my like nannying gig and moved to Uganda and was like, let's do this and let's really see how we can grow it and have a really deep impact in this community. So I lived in our community center for a little over 3 years, and my bedroom is now our operations office, which is hilarious. But you know, like soccer balls flying through my window and hundreds of kids like doing dance classes in the front yard and stuff. And that was really pivotal for us to do too, because it helped us go deep with our community and hire our staff and really show our commitment. So I would say that was like a big turning point in us growing the organization and really taking this seriously. But we started predominantly in the education space, so just making sure kids were in school. But we very quickly learned from our community that you can't just have kids in school. They also need access to medical services, or if their parents can't speak English, they can't help with homework, or they're going home hungry. So we've started to add on all these wraparound services, which very organically turned into our organization being a community center. So again, it kind of goes back to our origin of like, none of this was ever really a part of the plan.
It just kind of organically happened over time. You're like, okay, we can't just do this. We also need to do X, Y, Z to make it actually beneficial. What was that like? I mean, going there, obviously you had visited probably a few times at that point, but just abruptly kind of leaving your life here and like, okay, I'm committing fully to this and just moving there for 3 years. I'm sure acclimating to that was probably a little strange at first.
Well, and to be clear, I went there thinking I'd be there for like a couple months.
Oh, wow.
You know, and again, I was at that point, early 20s or maybe still like late teens. And I very naively was like, oh, I'll go there, we'll hire the staff, like get this thing off the ground. And, you know, 3.5 years later, I was like, okay, like I'm still here and I should probably go home. Like my family would probably really appreciate that. And at the same time, we were having a lot of really amazing interest from corporations like Gucci and people who really wanted to invest and partner with us. And I was like, okay, we need to elevate this to the next level, which requires me to be in the US and do fundraising and not just be doing dance classes with kids in this village in Africa. So now I get to go back and forth and kind of get the best of both worlds, but that was also like a really big growth period for us, is me coming back to the US and really taking our fundraising seriously and hiring our team on the US side as well.
What was that like for your family when you were just like, initially you said they weren't expecting you to be gone that long, but were they like, you're gonna do what? And you're gonna be for how long? You know, I'm sure that was probably a little difficult. I just know from experience, I like studied abroad in college and my parents were like, so skeptical of that. You know what I mean? Just typical parent stuff. What was their reaction to it?
I mean, my parents, I believe, I say this, I should probably double check it, but I believe my parents had never been out of the US before. So really? Like, you know, throw the continent of Africa and then Uganda on the map, they're like, where are you going? Like, what are you doing? And I think there were so many years where my family, while so supportive and so proud of the work that I do, like thought it was kind of like a passion project or something I would outgrow. And I actually got into grad school at USC. I went for 1 day, dropped out and moved to Uganda. And when I got into grad school, I think my family was all like, okay, yes, she's gonna be in the US, she's gonna like get a real career. Like, and I think there was still just like a thought of, nobody understood that this could turn into what it is now. Like, I think everyone wanted to make sure that I'd be successful and I could be home and all the things. But now it's completely 180 into this amazing organization and career that my family is like so proud of.
Yeah, which of course, like how could they not be? And I feel like that's just a testament to, I guess, just going with your gut. Like you said, you got into grad school and you could have taken, which obviously is, you know, that's a great path for people to take, but you walked in first day and you're like, no, this is not what is meant for me. This is not my life calling. So to be able to like drop out of it and just move to a different continent, a different country is pretty cool. All right, we have to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and continue to talk.
Thanks.
Welcome back, Colorado Conversations, talking to Sarah here with Action in Africa, and such an amazing organization that you founded 2 decades ago, nearly 2 decades ago. And we're just continuing to talk about the amazing work that this organization has done. So walk me through what you do now in Uganda. I know you said you kind of go back and forth now, but the organization there, I'm sure, do you have people there full time that are working? Just walk me through what that is like, what exactly this organization does for the community.
Yeah, so we operate at the moment a public community center that serves 300 plus kids every single day, slightly comparable to like a YMCA or a Boys and Girls Club that we're familiar with here in the US. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5 with kind of this revolving door basis. So all of our programs and services are free of charge, and that means a school can come and use our library for a class or program, or you can come with your mom for a hot meal or a medical service. So yeah, very comparable to like a YMCA or a Boys and Girls Club.
And what is it, for people who like aren't familiar with Uganda, the area, obviously a big area, is this kind of like in the a center of like a town there? I guess what area, just to kind of give people an idea.
So when we moved into this community 2 decades ago, it was very rural. So dirt roads, densely vegetated, long walking distances to schools and local shops and whatnot. But Uganda is rapidly developing. So now it's like smack dab in the middle of this like community center hub, which is really fun and exciting for us because it just means that we have access to far more people to be able to serve. But it's a very developing country, a lot of waste and poverty and challenges. So where we're located is really strategic.
Have you seen in your time there, obviously you've seen the benefits of your program, have you seen things start to improve there at all? I'm sure, you know, they're still dealing with a lot of, you know, different issues there, but have you been able to see improvement?
Yeah, I think I always bring it back to the people and the lives that have been improved and have changed and been impacted by our work. So you know, we have this philosophy of kind of an inch wide and a mile deep. So we've been working with a lot of these kids for 18 years. So we've seen them through their primary education, which is similar to like elementary and middle school here, through graduating university. And I believe I last saw that 4% of Ugandans have university degrees. So like we are flipping those statistics upside down very quickly. So those individual lives, and those are the teachers and the doctors and the lawyers and the social workers and the accountants that we're pumping into this economy in Uganda that are really going to be the change agents of that country. So we're playing the long game here. But then we have stories of like, we have a kid that has really severe cerebral palsy that we first met 10 plus years ago, who couldn't walk and really was struggling. And now with our intervention and support with his family, he's walking, he's in school, he has dreams of being a doctor himself. And so it's like the gamut, right? Like thousands of lives that have been educated and supported through those initiatives, but then individual lives like Shaki, who can now walk. And I feel very confident in saying he wouldn't have if we weren't there as an organization to support him and his family.
Yeah, because their medical services just aren't, you know, up to what our medical services are here. So is that part of the program? I know you said it's wraparound, so it's medical, it's education. Are doctors stationed there, or there's doctors that go over there regularly to help with those medical needs?
So I'm biased in all of this, but I think that one thing that we do really well is we partner with a ton of local organizations and entities to be the experts and the facilitators of a lot of our programs and services. So we do these amazing community-wide medical outreaches in partnership with a local organization called Alive Medical Services, and they do the HIV testing, malaria testing and treatment, dental work, cervical cancer screening, etc. And so they facilitate that, and we're just kind of the hosts of it. They get to come to our community center and facilitate all of that. But with Shaki, for example, like we have a local occupational therapist that works with him full time, and we have a special needs aide that goes to school with him all day, every day. So a lot of those individual-based services, but then community-based services. And one thing that's really important to note is all of our programs and services were brought to our attention by local community members. So a lot of times there's misconceptions of, oh, Sarah is this white girl from Aspen, Colorado. What does she know about working in a place like Uganda? And that's very true. And that is why we have, I think now 27 full-time Ugandan staff that oversee everything happening every single day, and then all of our local partners.
So it's not like just going in and being like, okay, this is what we think you need. It's like, no, we went to the source and we said, what do you need? And then brought that to them. And I know you said, so a lot of the staff is people who have, you know, been impacted by the program, the organization. And then you said a number of people have gone to university. Those people who are going, are they then like staying in the community and helping that community grow with what they learn?
Yeah. Yeah,
that's amazing.
And I think to date we have 18 students that have fully completed the 18-year pipeline of education. Oh, wow. And they're all gainfully employed. 4 of which are working for us full-time now, leading the programs that they were once beneficiaries of. So like, it does not get any more impactful than that.
It's literal full circle.
Yeah, and one really exciting quick story that I'll share is
of course.
Those students got together last year and decided to come together and surprise us by creating an alumni association. Aww. And they heard that people in Colorado were donating for them to have access to education, and they decided they want to be the next funders and supporters and donors of the work. So they've all pledged a certain amount of money every single year to give back to the scholarship program in Uganda that they were a part of. And
so
my
cool.
favorite part of all of that is they have decided that the 4 students who work for Action Africa and are employed by Action Africa have to donate more because they know that they're gainfully employed with us.
I love it.
So you know, they're investing now their own resources into the work that we're doing, and really committed to seeing it full circle.
It just goes to show that they, you know, believe in the organization, they believe in the cause and the work that's being done by giving back. Have any of them had a chance to come to Colorado?
We've not had any of our students come yet. We've had some of our Ugandan staff come to fundraisers and events and speak on behalf of the work, but none of our students yet. I have a hard time with that because I'm like, who do you select? You know,
you're like, who wants
I'm
to?
like, can you all come? You know, like, it just feels unfair.
We'll take turns. Everyone can come.
Yeah.
All right, so we have to take one more quick break, and we'll come back, continue talking, and talk about how people locally can get involved if they want to.
Awesome.
Welcome back. Talking with Sarah with Action in Africa, just talking about the great work that they've done over the years. And we want to, of course, mention what people can do. If you're watching this right now and you're like, hey, you know, I want to help out, I want to get involved, what is the best way to do so? So I guess, what should people do?
The best way would be go to our website, actionafrica.com, and you can donate there, donate /. But there's also a variety of ways to plug in. We have lots of local events that we do here in the state of Colorado. As I already mentioned, we bring donors and partners to come do trips in Uganda with us to really see and feel the work firsthand. We're always looking for business sponsorships and partnering in really meaningful ways. Shout out and shameless plug to Clark's Market. They just funded a new lunch pavilion for us for our kids to have, 300 kids to have a hot meal, but like under a protected little roof.
Awesome.
So things like that, there's a variety of ways to plug in locally for sure.
And I know you have an event coming up soon as well. So talk about that, the Taste of Africa dinner.
Yes, so every year we have the great privilege of hosting an event with celebrity chef Mawa McQueen in Aspen at her Mawa's Kitchen restaurant. And we are coming together as a community to raise money to support our food, water, nutrition programs in Uganda. So tying together kind of this theme of food with Mawa. It's a beloved event. Tickets are $198. We'd love people in the community to come and join us. And then all the money we raise is going to our food, water, and nutrition.
Awesome. Well, that's amazing. And thank you for joining us here for this Colorado conversation and obviously the amazing work that you do. So if people, again, want more information, go to actionafrica.com.
Yep, perfect.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much, Sarah, for joining us.
Thank you so much.